What's up, YouTube? How we doing? My name is Dan. I'm the Jazz Shepherd. Today we're in the back lounge. Gonna just kind of scroll around here. It's all hip hop, R&B, soul, reggae music. Back in this room. We're gonna do part one back here today. That way I can kind of set up different things. Part one of this episode, we're going to talk about the Poll Winners. And the Poll Winners were a series of 4 records, and I believe a 5th one has joined it in modernity. But I think there's only 4 of them from back in the day that were vintage. And it was 3 guys on the contemporary jazz label out west in LA that were continually winning polls in Downbeat and Metronome magazine. And so the idea was, let's make a series of records with these guys together and called Poll Winners. Probably a little far away from you to see that real well. But to be fair, as great as Kessell, Shelly Manne, and Ray Bryant are, there's probably a degree of what do you want to say, white privileged voters doing those polls. But that being said, these are great records. Kessell's a fantastic player. My first real introduction to Barney Kessell was on Julie London Crimea River, which is truly one of my favorite songs ever. Twin Peaks, by the way. Now, I love it. These records are great for entertaining. These aren't crack of dawn, melancholy, with a cup of coffee. You can do them that time, but they have enough juice and flavor and tempo that they're great conversation records. They're great early in the evening, dining, lounging. 3 guys that can really play. And Ray, of course, is one of the great bass players in jazz history. Shelly Manne is one of the most dynamic drummers that backed a lot of really, really great West Coast post-rock, hard-driving modern jazz records. Shelly Manne is at the center of a lot of that scene, both on all the Bethlehem stuff, contemporary stuff where he has 20 records as a leader on contemporary. So Shelly's a real giant of the mid-50s West Coast scene, and he's definitely a leader in a lot of those camps. The second one of the series here was cleverly called Poll Winners Ride Again, and it will show them on this lovely merry-go-round, and then cleverly titled Poll Winners 3. And then the Poll Winners, oh wait, we did Ride Again. The Poll Winners Exploring the Scene was the 4th one, and this is 3581. So the 3500 series is the series that Contemporary has for modern jazz. So 3576, 3556, 3581. I think this one's 3540 or something. 3535. So they all come probably within a 3-year window. And like I said, it's fantastic. Light, spritzer jazz. It's meant to be very digestible. It certainly sold very well. Ain't no question about that. Contemporary had a lot of success with all 3 of these artists, and putting them together was not a bad idea for anybody involved. No question about that. That's the best thing I saw myself all morning. I apologize for that. Trying out some new spaces here just to keep my backgrounds looking fresh and exciting. Maybe that's the angle I need to go with. But I apologize if that first part was too dark. Hopefully you guys can see that okay. Poll winners, 1 through 4. Like I said, there's a 5th one I think that joined it later in either the disc era or even more recently than that, possibly. I can't remember when it came out, but I'm pretty sure it's not part of the original contemporary release discography. But anyway, grab these records when you see them. You can find them for reasonable prices, believe it or not. They're not that hard to, you can get them for under 20 bucks usually. And again, that's just because these records on contemporary sold well. And the fact they won the polls, largely driven by white magazine buyers, those same people bought a lot of those records, and so they're out there to be had and can be had for a good price. Y'all be safe. I got part 2 coming on Ray Bryant. Stay tuned. Morning, everybody. Afternoon, evening, depending on where you're at in the world. I love the globality of this group. I'm talking with people all over this planet, and that's part of the unity. That's part of the unification. Let's dialogue, and it's amazing how much we share a common vision. There's a lot more. Thank you for saying what you're saying. It's what I feel. Thank you for expressing some of these thoughts, because I think them too. You put them into words, things I think. I got people tell me that kind of stuff, and it's just nice to know other people have come to a lot of the same conclusions. That I'm not out here alone in a boat with my own ideas going, man, ain't no one think like this. A lot of people do think that they're fed up with the stupidity of humanity, the dumb that we deal with every day, the ignorance, the lies, the governance of greed. And then its counterproduction, which is the anger of dissatisfaction. And the game Monopoly has us all convinced when we're 13, I'm getting the boardwalk, y'all. Better believe it. I'm going to be in charge. You're going to be owing me for landing on my hotel. Pay up. We get to be 23 and we barely holding on Baltic. All of a sudden, we're 36. I stayed at Park Place once. Cost me $500. I haven't even stayed on Boardwalk. That's like $2,000 a night, people. Come on. We did go by Marvin Gardens and looked in the door. So, we lucky when we get to Connecticut Avenue. Some of us get to Illinois Avenue, Indiana, Kentucky. But very few of us see Pacific Gardens. We're back here on Mediterranean and Baltic. And inside of the people who are entitled to believing that they deserve to be on Park Place, there's this anger of dissatisfaction. It just kind of stings and burns. And they just are so bitter about it that they don't know how to function. They're depressed. They're self-medicating. And they spend all their happiness looking for happiness in the wrong place. All the things that have made us happy throughout history and time, you have at your doorstep. It's right there. Keep a promise. You'll feel a little better about yourself. No, Monopoly doesn't teach us much about knowing the difference between what we need and what we want. I talked about that before. And when we don't know the difference between what we need and what we want, we end up wanting everything. And when we start wanting everything, we start needing everything. But if you can go and look at yourself and be like, this is what I need. I need education, clean water, health care, a roof over my head. I need to feed my family, support my loved ones. I got some allergies today. I did some cleaning in the lounge yesterday, and I don't like dust. Well, if I can clean and support my family, and know there's a few luxury items that I really need. For me, it's my record collection. I need this. I don't just want it. I want a jet ski. I need music. I want a trip to Athens, but I need music. I want a Jaguar, but I need music. And I think if we clearly delineated needs from wants, greed, capitalism, the pressure and expectation that's put on us would all kind of fall into its rank. But when we can't make that reference point, there's an expectation placed on us so early in this capitalist economy that so many of us get to 30 and just feel like they're complete failures. And that complete failure is what burns and fuels that anger of dissatisfaction. It's the world we live in. And the nice thing about this group is I find so many enlightened. Knowledge frees the mind. Understanding is where empathy and compassion come from. And so this group has a much broader tolerance, which is what I'm going to name the Jazz Lounge, the Tolerance Jazz Lounge, the Tolerance Bed and Breakfast, because tolerance is something we all need. We need people to be comprehending so they can understand us, and that whole process comes with the other person initially wanting to learn, and it's pride that breeds the arrogance that says, I don't need to learn about you. And that ignorance fuels the pride because, I don't know nothing about you. I don't like you. It's self-introspection going, I don't know a thing about Mexicans. I don't like them. I don't know a thing about the Russians and the commies. Oh, shit, fuck. Fuck them all. Nuke them. You know, so it's in a lot of the elite's benefit to keep us ignorant so that we don't have empathy, so that we don't have compassion. Because if we had a broader tolerance for all of humanity, all of mankind, a lot of the acts that we endorse, we would have zero tolerance for. So this is a great group. You know, the Facebook Jazz Vinyl Lounge, Jazz Vinyl Club, the JVC. There's some great minds in there, and my YouTube channel here. It's just I enjoy the dialogue so much. Patreon, thank you to all those who have signed up. It's growing and it's nice incremental growth. I got some targets I want to get to keep me doing this. I got to get to certain places, but it's growing at this point. So thank you to those who have joined, and blessings will come back your way. You know, you're planting a seed in something here that I'm not just trying to grow my pocketbook and buy myself things. I want to put the money back into this place and create a destination for us to congregate and to have little conventions where 30 of us, 40 of us get together and talk. Because we're building a community. So you're investing in that community as much as you're investing in me, and it's going to take a lot of effort and requirement on my part to be having the time to be invested. But I don't really want to get any further on that today. Today I want to talk about Ray Bryant. Philadelphia's back in the house. The Philly jazz stable is probably second only to the Detroit jazz stable of artists in this era. And by the 50s and the 60s, the black migration from the South has become so thick that when you looked at the Ellington groups and the Basie groups, especially back in the 30s and the 40s, most of those cats were born still in the South. If you're born in the 1906, 1908, 1915, World War I, you know, into the 20s even, your chances of being born in the South and then even being moved north as a child were pretty high. But by the time the 50s and 60s come along, a lot more of these cats are actually being born in New York, Philly, the DC area, less so, but Detroit, Chicago. And so he's a Philly guy. He grows up very much with a solid eye on rhythm and the blues and gospel. He's known to have have said that he liked to transfer elements of the Count Basie orchestra to the piano. So that's speaking volumes about his spatial recognition. And this is the fantastic Ray Bryant Trio record. It was Prestige 7098 and also New Jazz 8227. Same cover either way. I dig Ray Bryant a lot because of how he plays the blues and how he feels about the blues. He was influenced some by Art Tatum. You heard Tatum's virtuosity mixed with his spacing at times. He plays with Tiny Grimes from 48 to 49. He ends up revisiting his work with Tiny Grimes at Prestige in the late 50s. They do some recordings together. Coleman Hawkins, Tiny Grimes, Eddie Lockjaw Davis. Ray Bryant is right at his wheelhouse on these records. Both of them are outstanding records that are great examples on Prestige of blues, modernity jazz. You know, they're not necessarily hard bop sessions. These are modern, blues-driven, modern jazz. They're just great records, and they're dripping full of that honest, soulful emoting that's not as militant as what's happening at Blue Note, for sure, but it's still incredibly soulful and just gospel-driven and wonderful message. It's just super powerful stuff. But this is a great record. It's definitely worth digging out. It's probably 1957 at Prestige where Weinstock records him, and he starts doing quite a bit of work at Prestige for Weinstock. He's working with Miles on the Quintet Sextet record. He's working with Rollins on the Work Time sessions. Art Taylor, like I showed you the Tiny Grimes and the Coleman Hawkins. He also says Joe Jones, from the Count Basie group, taught him how to breathe and to pace a set. And he said that's something he lived by throughout his entire career. When he passes, like in 2011, he plays with guys like Hal Singer, Arnett Cobb, Benny Golson, Lem Winchester, the vibe player, Oliver Nelson. All these are kind of Prestige Swingville sessions that Ray Bryant is just fantastic on. And he kind of slipped under the radar. He doesn't have a ton of leader roles in the late 50s, but he's definitely tearing down the house. This is another one on New Jazz, Alone with the Blues, which is just him playing solo, and piano's the only instrument you can do that. And I'm going to touch on that in my first episode of the Jazz Journal magazine coming up on the great New York piano players. It's the reason why some piano players play piano. Alone with the Blues is reissued on Prestige 7837, so very late, probably almost 69, 70. Prestige reissues it here, but that's the original cover on the New Jazz imprint, and great old vinyl, beautiful stuff. He spends a time in Syracuse as a solo piano player for 1 year, just playing, getting paid. He goes to Philly for a while, plays Dixie with the Billy Kretschmer's club in Philly, and then he plays at the Blue Note Club in Philadelphia. And this is kind of where he learned to really cut his chops with as a house pianist at the Blue Note Club, playing with guys like Lester Young, Charlie Parker, Miles Davis, and Sonny Stitt. So before he goes to New York and starts recording this stuff, he's cutting his chops in Philly, really getting to work with all the guys coming through as one of the great house musicians at the Blue Note Club in Philadelphia. And people kind of forget that Blue Note was not a word that everyone thought of as a jazz label in 57, in the 40s and 50s. Blue Note referred to a reference to jazz. It was the blue notes that the blues and jazz used, that a lot of musicians referred to jazz in that terminology. And the label borrows the name from that, Blue Notes. And so many of us hear the name Blue Note and just think label, and it's almost like Kleenex and tissue. We think Kleenex almost before tissue. And Blue Note's just Blue Note. No, Blue Note's actually a definition describing the music that Blue Note adopted. And it's a great, perfect terminology, really, honestly. So he moves to Columbia after his extensive work at Prestige And this is where his career takes a bit of a turn. And he does, I don't have all of his stuff here, but he actually has some pretty big commercial hits because it's at Columbia. Just like Miles, just like Monk, just like Brubeck, you go to Columbia, and if you're any good, and if they market you at all, and if you look clearly at this, who are they marketing these records for? That doesn't say, hey, brothers in Harlem, buy this Ray Bryant record. It says, hey, white folks, you'll dig on this. Step to it. Dancing the Twist? Come on. Ray Bryant Trio. You don't even know he's black. You'll be safe. You can play it when your relatives are over and they won't even know. But he actually has some pretty big hits. He has a song called Little Susie that charts pretty well in the R&B. I think it was number 12 in the R&B charts. Madison Time. There was a Madison dance craze. He does it on one of Aretha's early Columbia records. She's backed by the Ray Bryant Trio at CBS. Sack of Woe was a hit in like 61. Then he goes to Sue Records for a while, 63, 64. Does 4 or 5 records there, which I also don't have. And to be honest, I don't recall seeing them a lot. I don't know how big a label Sue Records was. I don't remember seeing any of the other greats in the jazz canon having records on Sue Records. But someone now is going to message me and be like, oh, so-and-so had 4 records on Sue. And I love that. Please tell me. Let a brother know. Don't leave me out here in the dark. So that leads him to going to Chess Records. And he moves to Chess in probably 66, 65. And he actually makes a great series of records here. They got a certain kind of modernity, modern pop production to them. It was marketable to both white and black folk. The stuff at Argo. It's very cadet. Sorry, Argo's no longer. But this is 767. I think it might be his first one. So it's well into the Argo Cadet discography, which starts at 601. So we're 767. So we're 167 titles in. And he has a fairly good chain of records here. $778, Lonesome Traveler, nice record. Slow Freight, great album cover. There's some R&B tinge to these records. Ray Bryant Touch. Ray Bryant, Take a Bryant Step. And this actually has the track Ode to Billy Joe, which was a pretty big hit for him. Even here at Argo. Some people kind of said he got so commercial, but you can't always hold a guy's success against him. So it's still got that kind of light, bluesy, almost Peanuts, Schroeder vibe to it. It's very light, you know. It's a runny, light but spicy barbecue sauce. Ain't thick and full of honey. It's a little bit more vinegar, Tabasco barbecue sauce. But he's got a great tactful touch. And he was one of the guys who really had some success. And he ends up at Atlantic, and he makes some more records there. This is probably 69, 70, yeah, 70. And he continues to record for quite a while. And so Ray Bryant is kind of overlooked a lot by today's jazz buying audience. But even if you overlook the Columbia stuff, which is a fusion of R&B and jazz, and some records are more so than others, but even if you overlook that stuff, his work as a sideman in the late 50s at Prestige alone puts him in the Hall of Fame. And his two albums as a leader on Prestige New Jazz are both outstanding records. So dig on Ray Bryant. The brother's got something to say. He has a great stride and groove to him. He's borrowing from Basie spatially, which is Basie's such a huge architect. You know, Basie and Ellington are two great architects of this music, and they build their homes very differently. Ellington has some intricate architecture and unique features, and he'll actually pastel and pastiche together different schools of architecture into this composite that's wonderfully cohesive in spite of its challenges. You're like, wow, how do you do that? Basie is building concrete blocks, and we're keeping it simple, folks. You know, we're not going to complicate it too much for you, but in that comfortable vehicle, I'm going to pound the blues down your throat. See what I'm saying? It's a different architectural style. It's brutalism. It's function. That's it. Ellington's got form, Basie's got function. And almost all of jazz can be rooted back to one of those two schools. Appreciate you all. Check out my Patreon page. The magazine's 2/3 done. I should have it ready to throw out there in about a week. I'm waiting for a few guest columnists to send me their videos as well. So again, it's coming. Be patient. Working hard on it. Y'all be safe. Peace.